Welcome back to the sliding tile puzzle game that is my toy collection. In the first video, I moved and rearranged my Batman toys, which left a gap and allowed me to move my Star Trek toys, which in turn left a gap and now allows me to move my Transformers toys into a much bigger space. They used to be here. I've had a bit of a head start. I've moved them out of here already because I actually needed to get behind there and fix some lighting issues. As you can see here, I've already started trying to measure which shelf is going to contain which toys, how high they should be. I think I'm good. I'm gonna jinx myself here, and I think let's try that again. I think I'm gonna jinx myself here, but I think that might be a much more straightforward move. Yeah, I bloody jinxed myself. Yeah, let's get straight into it. Right, where it all started. So here we have the Generation 1 shelf, and it's quite packed. It was probably ideal if I did a separate Autobot shelf and a Decepticon shelf like I did previously over there. I had to make a few concessions here as well, which I'll get to in a moment. But in all honesty, my Transformers collection isn't that extensive anyway. Even if some of the pieces I have in that collection are a little, overcompensating. For now, having them all crammed in here will do. Now, as a kid back in the 80s, I didn't actually have a lot of Transformers. Off the top of my head, maybe I had about a dozen of them. So this is much more than anything I had back then. And everything you see here have actually been picked up in the last few years. So you've got Autobots on one side, Decepticons on the other. Around about this central area here, towards the front, these replacements, and all of them are replacements, well, they're replacements for what I had as a kid. And I guess they're quite random too, from original G1s to later G1s, MicroMasters, but some of these are in my possession for the first time, like a Galvatron, for instance. I gotta be honest, the Galvatron toy I always found rather ugly. Wasn't a fan of it, ever. He was a bargain, so of course he's here. Magnus, if you go to my video from earlier in the year about my favourite and frustrating toys, there's a story about him there. I've had to, like I said, make a few concessions. There's still on card Beachcomber, original G1 Beachcomber as well, not a re-release. I found at a Savers for, I think it was like $12 or $13. It still has the John Martin's price sticker on here as well, which I love, for how much? $3.99, but the sale price was $3.49. Ooh, a whole 50 cents off discount. Like, this is probably this. I had this as a kid, so this is a replacement. Nice mint in pack one that I purchased quite recently. He's gonna go elsewhere. I already know where he's gonna go. More on that later. You know what? I think I might talk about these extras later. I'm gonna tidy up a bit more and then move on to the next shelf. I'm happy with this for now. This is good. This is good. I'm good.
Well, that's just Prime.
God damn, this is such a stupid toy. Like, I love the character. Damn it, he's so terrible. Oh, his tail's in the way. This is so annoying. That'll do. That'll do for him. Right. I think I have it. So that was frustrating. That was frustrating. The first time I watched Beast Wars Transformers, I almost instantly dismissed it. It was 1997, I think it was. I think I watched the first. Yeah, I caught the first episode, and I thought to myself, "What the hell is this?" It's they transform into animals. Now, by this time, I'd actually moved away from Transformers. I was a teenager in the 90s. Most of the stuff I loved as a kid, I was moving on from. The toys were being thrown out. Very little of the stuff I was interested in as a kid sort of remained. Video games, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, those for the most part were fairly consistent, but Transformers, sort of apart from watching the 1986 film over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, yeah, that kind of fell by the wayside. It wouldn't be until a few years later, my final year of high school in 2000, the year 2000, because you have to say it like that. So in my final year of high school, I was actually contemplating a career in computer animation. And I was devouring as much computer animated TV shows as I could back then. And I happened upon a random episode of Beast Wars, this time from season 2. And it was night and day from that first episode I saw. I watched it and went, this is bloody fantastic. The more episodes I watched, the more I thought, oh wow, this is brilliant. This is fantastic. And that also egged me on to want to do more computer animation as a career. Spoiler alert, I ended up being a graphic designer instead, but yeah, anyway. But yeah, so I credit Beast Wars. Oh, did I knock you over? I credit Beast Wars as bringing me back into Transformers. Unlike the G1 stuff, which is more about random chance finds or maybe just specific ones that I really want to get, Beast Wars, my goal with the Beast Wars collection here is to recreate the television cast. Pretty much everyone packed in here has appeared on the television show. I have a few more in storage, but they were the characters that didn't make it into the scripts. So you've got Maximals over here, you've got Predacons over this side, the originals, Transmetals, and Transmetal 2s. Actually, the very first Beast Wars toy that I bought, I think it might have been first or second year of university. I was doing graphic design by then. I had some spare cash and I was still really into Beast Wars. Oh, and I think Beast Machines had just started at some point. And so Beast Machines toys were in stores. Wasn't that big of a fan of that, but still, anyway. So it led me to this Optimus toy. I think it might have been a Kmart, and it was an instant buy for me. And so fast forward, 15 years later, when I decided to properly start this collection, I hunted many of these down after the fact. Some of these are from toy fairs, some of these are from eBay, some I've had to repair, some I've had to cobble together from different parts of different finds. Cheetor here, Transmetal Cheetor, unfortunately he's incomplete. He's missing an arm. Now, I'm fortunate I found as much as I could of him in some random tubs at Paddy's Market. He had an arm in one box, his tail was in another box, so he's still missing an arm, but at the end, after all that searching, I got most of him, and he was only $5. One of the favorites up there is the Transmetal Megatron. Yes. Toy fans are familiar with the gold plastic syndrome. So I think I've transformed him a couple of times since I bought him. You know what? I've got to admit, I'm brave enough to transform him again, just for the hell of it. But maybe not today. I've also got Masterpiece Optimus Primal. And it's a beautiful toy too, much smaller than I anticipated. Speaking of breaking, I actually broke him in the first week I bought it, unfortunately. Fortunate for me, I bought him cheap, which makes it feel a little better. But if you've ever chipped your tooth and you have that tiny little piece come out, like just tiny, that's how much broke off. It's fine, it kind of stays in there, but it's sort of, such a beautiful toy. And the voice of Primal, Gary Chalk, I've met him. Such a lovely man. Everyone's packed in here at the moment. But, I'm sort of everything in flux. In 6 months' time, I'll probably decide to spread them out again, which is fine, because I'll figure something else out. But for now, Yeah, I don't think you can fit anyone else in there.
It is a necessary war to return us to glory. The Autobots will never sacrifice freedom.
And here we are at the top shelf. The order of this has been very deliberate. For instance, the G1 toys, there are plenty of tiny little cars. They belonged on a lower shelf so you could actually look at them properly. If they were too high, you wouldn't be able to see them past the shelf that they were actually on, unless you were tall enough to just look straight ahead. So G1 down there because of smaller toys. Beast Wars right in the middle, perfect eye level for me. This shelf is the more recent stuff in terms of the last 10 years, I think, and they're easier to see from a lower level. So we've got the Masterpiece Starscream is the Hasbro release. I remember buying that from Toys R Us when it was still in Rundle Mall, and it was on sale, of course, as always with all of my stuff. I think it was I think it might have been over a decade ago now that I bought it. I'd have to look it up. But I remember being excited getting that one because the original Takara Masterpiece Starscream, I hated that color. Yes, it's accurate to real life, but it just looked ugly. We also have the Combiner Wars Megatron. Found that for $50 at one of the toy fairs. I gotta admit, I never really got into many of these versions of the toys. Some of them were okay, but they seem to be a bit of a dress rehearsal to a lot of the later stuff. But this Megatron in particular caught my eye because his alt form, a tank, really reminds me of how he was designed in Transformers Devastation, the video game, which was a brilliant homage to the G1 cartoon series. The Takara version has the much better paint job. Speaking of cool paint jobs, back there is the Transformers United Cup, the Takara version. Again, really nice paint job, metallic turquoise, teal. It's a much more automotive paint look to him than what the Western releases had. But that is a butt ugly head he's got there. That head sculpt, terrible. So fortunately, I do have the replacement head. I think it's like, the brand is iGear, like a third party maker, and a friend actually sold me that replacement headset. Sold it to me for $5. He had a spare one that he ordered by mistake apparently. So I'll probably get to that a bit later. I gotta be honest, I can't tell the difference between the Voyager classes or anything like that these days. It's like if I just see a really cool looking Transformer toy, that's all I know about it. That's, in all honesty, that's it for me. But these toys are all surrounded by War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. I love that game. That was 2010, 2012 for the two games by High Moon Studios. They were a nice little antidote, a little balm to the crap that Michael Bay was releasing back then. A couple of these I specifically hunted down. Shockwave, for instance, I was a little upset that I missed out on him for like $4 at a toy fair, so I paid a little more to buy him online. Grimlock is an excellent toy there. Magnus, of course, he's a repaint of the Optimus Prime toy with a different head. I think I found him in a toy bag at Savers, complete. We've got Bumblebee, of course, he's the Transformers mascot for everything now apart from Prime. Jazz and Starscream, they were on sale in the bargain bins, and so of course I swooped them up. People keep asking way too much for the War for Cybertron Megatron. Yeah, this one, I just discovered him at the Brighton Sunday Market. He was just there with a bunch of other Transformers toys, like loose and broken. And yeah, the guy just wanted $5 for him. All he's missing is a missile for his cannon. Well, that's it. I'm fine with that. Speaking of War for Cybertron, from the good lounge room, aka the toy room, to the fancy dining room, which I've unfortunately taken over and turned into a bit of a bomb site. This is where my Optimus Prime cosplay now resides. Previously, he was actually in the archway sealing off the two areas. But eventually he had to move because it got to a point where I was just running out of room in there. Yeah, I'm actually not sure if he's going to stay in here. I'm definitely keeping him. Don't worry about that. He is retired now. But I think I might have to move him and turn the dining room back into a dining room and get rid of some of this crap that's around out of frame right now. I'm very proud of the big fella here. He served me well for, might have been 4 years now. Great memories, great photos too. And this is, of course, the costume that got me to meet the legend himself, Peter Cullen. 6 years later, and I'm still dining out on that story. But there are videos you can, click on somewhere to check those out. I talk about why this costume. I talk about how awesome that meeting was. War for Cybertron, Optimus Prime. Bloody love him. Using a little blue tack so it doesn't slip off. So I must admit, my original plan was to have Megsy here join the rest of the Transformers on one of the lower shelves. I was considering removing a shelf in order to accommodate him. I even thought about making him a, let's say, a Lincoln Memorial style chair in order for him to sit in.
This throne was made for me!
But, oh my god, big bastard here just would not fit. I tried multiple ways. So he's got to go back onto the top of the old shelf where he started, looking over the rest of the toy collection like the tyrant that he is. After 3 shelves of Transformers, you might be wondering, where's Optimus Prime? Well, he's over there in the special display cabinet along with Captain Jean-Luc Picard. As I said in the previous video, I'll delve into that a bit more at a later date. But for now, all the Optimus Prime stuff over there. Alrighty, so just a bit of housekeeping. I said before I had to make a few concessions in order to make all that fit up there. Things like Fall of Cybertron Sound Blaster. He's out. This was like $3 at a Savers, as opposed to the actual Sound Wave that's up there. He's much better. Anyway, speaking of Soundwave, here's an esoteric bit of crap. Soundwave on a soap. This is from 1984, carefully made in England. That's just so ridiculous. I love that. Here's another Savers. Here's another random Savers find. This was an incomplete Wreck-Gar. It's actually not bad condition. Randomly found him in a $4 or $5 toy bag. The major concession that I've had to make are actually my original childhood Transformers, as in the actual Transformers that I've had since I was a kid. Up until recently, well, like earlier this year, I thought I only had a handful of items left over. For instance, storybook cassette, Slaves of the Insecticons. Sadly, I'm missing the book on that one. Oh, one of these fold out. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is so decrepit, mainly because it's stuck together with sticky tape that's deteriorating, not the actual paper itself. So all the fold lines just came apart, and that's sticky tape from the 80s or 90s. I'm willing to bet, which is funny because I've since found some really good condition ones. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just always had Steeljaw with me, like in amongst a bunch of trinkets and whatever. I can never explain it. And also, one of these, I gotta be honest, off the top of my head, I actually can't remember what his name is. But again, he was one of those toys that I just always had with me in a box of trinkets or at the bottom of a drawer or something, no matter where I went. Yeah, so. Well, there goes him. Yeah, here's a special one. I've actually since added his accessories, but I had Strafe. I want to say Strafe. God, my memory's bad with these. I've had this, I think is a Technobot. I've had him for ages as well, and he was always with me. He was always, at the bottom of a box of spare crap. But when I started doing the collecting thing again, I thought, you know what, I'm going to find his accessories, and I did that. So that's cool. But the one that got me, and as you may have seen already, I've already replaced them. Yeah, discovered these hidden away under the staircase, my original Cup and Blur. Cup I absolutely loved because his die-cast chest made him seem more substantial than some of my other toys, so he was always a favourite in that regard. Blur was bought at a school fete for a couple of dollars, if I recall. I thought I'd lost these. I thought they'd been thrown out. I thought they'd been given away, and so since then I've actually replaced both of them affordably, mind you. As I'll always point out, there's a video talking about where I go through some of these discoveries. Oh, that's right, 2 more things I discovered as well that I thought, tiny little men. This one is Rewind. It's Rewind, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, he came with Steeljaw. That's right. It was a 2-pack with Steeljaw. So that was cool if I almost replaced him. And this one goes with Trigger Happy. It's a Target Master. Blowpipe? Blowpipe. I did that video earlier. This was like 6 months ago I did that video, I think, so I barely remember. But yeah, this goes with Trigger Happy, which I'm still missing. For a while there, I was actually looking for a complete Trigger Happy because I kind of want to recreate my childhood collection. Having this intact as well, beautiful condition. Having him intact makes it easier to find an original G1 Trigger Happy. So at the moment, these, I can probably fit a couple of these up there, but right now I want to keep my original G1 toys together and figure out a way to display them separately. I have an idea, and you may see it down the track when I get to that video. Every problem has a solution. I'll get to them. Yeah, that was, a couple of hurdles, but overall fairly straightforward. So I'm happy with how things are. I anticipate things are going to change over the next few months, and by end of year I'll probably be doing this all over again and expanding the Transformers out. One more thing to do. To the PowerPoint! Whoa!
Transformers, defenders of truth, robots who fight in disguise. Transformers, when the battle is through, only the strong will survive. Children run. Galaxies roaring, roaring trees, till its darkest corner. With the enemy gone, gonna finally live on. It's a revel in their victory.
And for the next video, actually no, we're skipping this cabinet for the time being and going to potentially a larger job. Hopefully we'll get that out soon. This was fun. Till next time, thank you very much for watching.
Robotic warriors give it their own. Fight in disguise to the victors there's hope. Transformers, defenders of truth, robots who fight.